Everybody. We'll just throw that over there. I washed our blanket and I just threw it over the side of the back of the couch and just realized, I don't ever, I come to the daily tune ins as I would have you come to my home. My home is lived in. I don't try to perfect anything. Half the time I'm flying in here and on the seat of my pants. And um, mm, but when I say that though, come being with this message throughout my entire day is the whole lesson that I believe I've been given to observe myself in this daily tune in. So when I say that I come in by the seat of my pants, it's not because I don't care, I don't, I'm coming in last minute and throwing stuff together. It's really that as we get to go throughout our day, Bud and I go throughout our day, I get to sit on these most incredible beaches and under this most incredible sky and just churn in a way that invigorates my soul on these messages and what is it I'm tuning in, what am I feeling, what are the messages that I'm getting, and to really be fully aware of my thoughts as I'm doing my day here so that I can understand the message more and more. That to me has become, like, it's going to sound so cheesy, but it's become like almost like a great honor because it then allows me to tune into every now moment even more because I don't want to show up here unprepared. I may be flying in because all day I've been so present with the day and being in the joy of sitting on a beach and being like, my job right now is to sit on this beach and listen to what my guides tell me. What is the message for the day? What am I tuning into? Like, that's my job. So it's such a beautiful day that I get to come into, that when I come back in here, I'm like, oh my gosh, my kitchen is a mess. I got blankets and pillows like all over the place. But this is who I am. I'm a little bit messy, and but I'm also quite integrated with the sacred part of life, and it's usually the parts that people don't notice. It's the unseen parts, and I think that's ultimately what this daily tune in, this mission that I've been given to do these daily tune ins is to be able to fully embrace the sacred every day so that I can put a story and make some connections to it with the energies that we're in, and really put a perspective together that's compelling for us to look at and discuss. And so all that to say, I come in here, sitting down, my house is a mess, and at the same time, I'm like, I'm so grateful. And I will also share that my beautiful friend Christine from Ukraine came in yesterday. She is our first guest, and it's super exciting, and it's not missed on me either that the very first person that came and was like, I want to come where you guys are. I want to see what your life is like. I want to immerse myself in your company, which is feels very special for someone to do that. And for that someone to be someone in Ukraine that I met. And for those of you who've been on this journey with me since I was doing these daily tune-ins from Ukraine. Ukraine was a really hard a hard timeline for me personally, and for Bud and I both, but it was really hard, and most of it was because the language barrier was so like strong that we hardly had any connections. But the connections we made, which were like two, that turned into one of them turned out to be a family. But the two connections we made were some of the most heartwarming and beautiful gifts that Ukraine exchanged with us for our time there. And my friend Christine is here, and she is a brave, beautiful young woman. She's never been out of Ukraine, and she had to take two trains, a plane, a taxi, and a 5-hour bus ride to get, and another taxi to get here. And for her to have the bravery at 19 years old with not a whole lot of support, but to have that bravery to come and say, I want to check out some other part of the world, and I feel safe coming to you all, and barely knowing us, it feels like a privilege, and it feels like what I believe the 5D soul timeline is all about. So I'm really honestly getting these nuggets. I'm getting these experiences of this soul timeline, this soul reality. And y'all, it feels so beautiful. It feels so beautiful, even though not all the parts are perfect. I still have messiness all around. My hair is always a mess, and my places. Actually, it's usually pretty picked up. We do a good job at it, but it feels a little messy to me at the moment. So all of that to say, one of the things that the message that was called for us to kind of go a little bit deeper into, and it feels a little discombobulated to me because I feel like we're repeating things, and at the same time we're repeating things because they are really important for us to tune into. So I'm going to keep using this diagram that I've been using all week so far, and I have the link in the chat if you want to download this. Again, if you're here for the first time, it's a super raw, messy infographic, but something that just puts some context to what we're talking about here. So we're gonna really talk about this part because yesterday we talked about our our presence in time and space. Today we're going to talk about our universe, our presence, our multidimensional self in the space of space time, which is both of these are going on simultaneously. In every now moment, I am in a place in space time. So we kind of covered this, but we're going to go just a little bit more deeper into it. And um, how we are, I like the idea of like we're projecting when we are holding our intention in mind. So we had the whole idea the first week of this experience of the plot twist. What it is, how, kind of creating the energy of the plot twist that then projects us through a portal into that higher reality, our soul timeline. um, Now, I don't know if this is going to happen in 3 months. We are experimenting with this energy. We're experimenting with manipulating energy in a high vibrational way, in a high frequency way, in a healthy way. All life is the manipulation of consciousness, of the energy that is us. We are a projection of our lives. Our reality is a projection of our consciousness. Therefore, what we see in our reality is a direct reflection of what is who we are. So if we're seeing violence, we're seeing rudeness everywhere, there's something that's reflecting. And if we are no longer a reflection of that, we start to tune into something else, and the rudeness starts to go to fade out. So we are projecting our reality. And how we are now, what we are doing now is really kind of getting in the quantum mechanics of how does that projection then change, and how do we see in our reality the soul timeline? How do we move through space time to get there? um, but one of the things that I wanted to come back to is I had in my last corporate job, I was a project manager, and before I was a project manager, I was a project coordinator. And what we had to do is take all of the different things about the project and kind of coordinate it so that it was organized, so that when the project went to be built out, everything was organized, and it was a well, like our guys could just go in and work through the project, and everything that they would need was all coordinated. So it's the same thing as we are coordinating the connective piece between the timeline that we are on and our soul timeline. When we merge on there, at that point, that is when we are then on the projected timeline that was written in to our soul's reality by our soul. Okay, we're expanding, right? So if it's a little bit feels like a little bit, heady kind of stuff, or a little bit, loftier than you might want to go, just allow yourself to listen. Just allow your mind to expand into some knowledge that probably has never been taught to you in a traditional way. But we're all opening up to all of the realities, all of the new knowledge that comes embracing the fact that we are multidimensional beings. We are a spiritual being, we are an energetic being, we are a physical being. And when all of that operates as one, then just like in that project coordinator job, when I did a really good job, the project, it just happened really easy. It was seamless. So when we are fully integrated in our multidimensional being, and we understand how we move through each now moment, how we move through space and time in each now moment as an integrated being, at that point, then we understand the mechanics of doing this whenever we want to move into a higher reality. Okay. So what's happening now is we are coordinating in this 90 days, we are coordinating all of the pieces that go into every now moment being in a place of peace. Being in a place of peace. We've already talked about that, because in every now moment when you're in a place of peace and a place of surrender, and you're not attached or controlling what that soul reality looks like and how you get there, if you can surrender that and be in that 0 point factor for whether it's your you can be in that 0 point factor, sorry, at all times, you are then able to move through space and time rather quickly. Okay. So this isn't to beat divine timing, because we know at the same time in this now moment, we're circulating like this going up. We're also circulating in our own universe and our own reality in this way. So our light body is doing this as it's circling in, through space and time. And if we don't tell or we don't coordinate where we go by holding an intention, we're just in one space going around in circles. So if you've ever had those times in your life where it's like, man, I don't feel like life's moving along, it's maybe because you haven't directed it, you haven't coordinated where in space and time you're going. So you're like, well, how the hell do I give the coordinates of space and time? And remember, we covered this really briefly on Monday, or however many days ago. I don't even I don't even know where we are in the week. Um, but what that means is in every sorry, I lost my train of thought there, and it was a really good point. But if it's a good point, it'll come back. Um, how you set the coordinates is based on the feeling of your intention. So and as you are moving in each now moment, you're at peace in every now moment. No matter what's going on, you find the way to peace. Even if you're at work and you're frustrated, you're in a meeting, when you come into that place of peace, you are still in a high vibrational moment in time and space, in the time of that moment, but also you are moving here. And when you start to understand and to connect with that soul reality, and you keep that timeline in your focus, so the old timeline that's fallen away, the old 3D timeline, the old paradigms, that's fallen away. So let that be. Let it be. Surrender it to allow it to unfold and to dismantle the way it's going to be, because your attention, when your intention and attention is on being in peace in every given moment, so that you are quantum leaping through the space and time, through the universe, through the quantum field, whatever you want to call it, you are going closer and closer to that space in time, and the frequency where you meet the entryway into the hertz, the frequency of that soul reality. Sorry, it's like it's not, I'm not sorry, it's just, it's such heady stuff, and it's so cool, and I can see it so easily. Explaining it sometimes is harder. It feels harder, but I'm hoping these drawings help a little bit. So what we are doing now in these 90 days is projecting ourselves through the quantum field in every now moment, moving from one space to one space to one space. And then we have a day that our hearts blow open and we quantum leap up a couple of frequencies all at once. And we sit there and we're like, whoa, what just happened? I'm a little bit nauseous because you jumped in frequency so quickly. You took a quantum jump. You had one of those days that just blew you open and you feel disoriented. You feel like you got run over by a truck, but until you get a good nap and you wake up the next day, you're like, whoa, and you acclimate to that higher frequency. Now you're back to it, back to the portal into the soul timeline. So all of this to say, in every given moment, this whole thing of peace, we can keep talking about peace, we keep coming back to it because there is something to it. There is no resistance when you find peace in every given moment. And the more that you can do that, it then catapults you through to that coordination, that coordinate spot in the soul reality, in time, in space and time where your soul reality resides. And at that point, everything, all of your experiences, you're there when all of a sudden your experiences start to emulate. You're like, whoa, that's what they said 5D was going to be like. Whoa, this is what they said soul family was going to be like. We're not going to be biological, but we're going to have people from Ukraine that are in our family. We're going to have spear fishermen that we just randomly met, and all of a sudden we have dinner 4 or 5 times a week with them. We have soul family that own something down the road, and we go and stop in at their bar and restaurant and have a really good conversation. So soul family, like, family's looking different for me. I'm understanding that this is the expression as I go through and I walk through my day, and I'm like, oh wait, this is what peace feels like for majority of the day. It's a little bit overwhelming, but I'm getting used to it. Wait a minute, they said the 5D reality, the soul reality, is a reality of peace. Oh my gosh, great things happen, and somebody just gave us a meal. They said in 5D reality, someone will, people will trade, they will give, there will be abundance. You will receive abundantly and you will give abundantly. Oh my gosh, this sounds like I'm experiencing the 5D reality. And before we know it, we're like, our storehouse moments that we are sharing, the storehouse, it becomes moment to moment where all of a sudden we realize, moment to moment, oh my gosh, I'm not in peace anymore. I'm in full on gratitude because I see all of this peace that has blossomed into the abundance that is the 5D soul reality, that timeline. We are so close to it that's why this 90 days, if when we put our attention on it and we start looking everywhere for evidence of this 5D reality, at the end of it, we're going to be there. We might not have to be blasted. We may not have to be taken out on spaceships. If we are, I think that's pretty cool. And I will definitely get on. But if I'm still here in 3 months and this world looks the same, but it feels very differently and it unfolds very differently, and it starts looking and feeling and integrating differently, that means we are in a different world in space and time. So we have literally shifted through this community and through us tuning into peace in every now moment. We are all, as a collective, moving through space and time to that point where all of a sudden we get on a call and every one of us is like, I think I'm in 5D reality. Kind of looks the same, but nothing triggers me. It feels amazing. And whatever does come up, it's for your good, so nothing rattles you anymore. If something comes up and you have to lose it, you're like, I'll lose it, I'll let it go, because I know it's taken me into a higher expression. Everything now is for our good. Therefore, if our ego wants to be like, we need to be upset about that, or we have to be sad about that, that's when we can now know that this is the time and space for us to know without a doubt that we are on the trajectory up into the higher realms of our soul timeline. Therefore, there is nothing to fear at this point, no matter what that other world wants us to think. This is sacred time that we are walking on. This is sacred land that we are walking on. Yes, we, all of us, I'm pretty sure, know how sacred our planet is and our earth is, but even on top of that, this is sacred time. This has been time that has been prophesied for, thousands of years. We have been prepared for this. And we have 90 days where we are being asked just to pay attention. And we talked about paying attention last night on our Ascension Bank call. And that's because there is so much sacredness for us to embody and to listen in on and to notice and to observe and to experience and to embody. So all of a sudden we are so embodied in these beautiful experiences of abundance and storehouse, storehouse stories and storehouse moments that all of a sudden we're like, I'm there. There's nowhere for us to look to be or to wait for. We are here. And for as long as we're going to be on this earth, we are going to be living in peace and we're going to be living in harmony. And, for those who want to roll their eyes and be like, that sounds really great, we're going to be like, it actually is. Thank you very much. We've worked really hard to be here. So this is really sacred time. This is our time as light workers to finally tune into a part of this path that every you know that we haven't really gotten to. We've all had some challenges, quite a lot of challenges to overcome in this lifetime and to many lifetimes, and to learn the lessons and to understand it and to come into a higher consciousness and to use our higher consciousness for good and to use that good for the good of all. We have come into these lessons over and over and over again, mostly through hard challenges. And now we're at a space where we're stepping into a place of peace and we can breathe and just tune into that together and really start to solidify how sacred life is, because that soul reality is so sacred. And as we step into it in these 90 days, as we get more and more and more of a taste of it, it is for us to share it. It is for us to be it, to be the peace. And it is for us to finally have the payout for all of the challenges and all of the things that we've overcome to be the light workers we are. Let's just be the light and be in peace and house people and give of ourselves and to fully see the sacred. That is the message for today. I love Jessica. Hi, welcome, Christine and Jessica. But that your messages and authenticity is one of the many reasons we all love you. Thank you. Thanks. My ego battle yesterday ended with me painting it out. Very cathartic. Oh yes, and thanks for letting me share my painting with you. Yes, Jessica. I will say this. I years ago I did years ago actually, I would do mind and color painting workshops, and we would go through a process of painting on canvas, which would scare them, a lot of people, because they're like, I don't paint, I'm not an artist. And that's like the most vulnerable, like awesomest place to start out with somebody. Great, you're afraid, here's a blank canvas. And then taking them through a process, and throughout that process stepping back and looking at the canvas, and through intuition and through a beautiful beautiful process, having that person look at, like, what is your mind telling you? What is that canvas? What is it reflecting back you? What are the colors? What are the shapes? And so there's so many beautiful messages that come from intuitive painting. So Jessica sent me this beautiful piece of artwork that she was working on, and her guides came out on it, and it was so beautiful. I felt it too, Jessica. Like when I opened it up and I saw your painting, I was like, oh, I could like, can be weird in some worlds, but this is how I grasp. I'm like, oh, I can grasp their energy by looking at it. And then but the most beautiful thing is, then she sent me another layer the next day or so, and there was a whole new layer on top of it. And she's like, my guides got covered up. I was like, no, they're like, well, yes, but also they're in there. They're unseen. They're in those layers, and yet there's this beautiful new layer on top of it. Again, whole other metaphors there. But I love, Jessica, thank you for pointing that out, because I love to see how this process is unfolding for all of you. What is it turning you towards? Jessica's like painting out her ascension process. Some of you are writing it out. Some of you are, how are you expressing all of this newness coming out, and how are you pulling it into understanding. The creative process of this is so unique and so personal. So Jessica, like seeing your personal expression of this process was extremely an intimate, beautiful moment. So intimacy to me is like into me see, and I got to see into you, Jessica, and into your guide. So thank you for sharing that. It was beautiful. And Gisela says, I've been picking up so many signs of guidance and have no idea where it's leading me, but it's unfolding in such fun way. Yes, words from coworkers, specific books, podcasts, love from friends. Isn't that the coolest thing? Like that to me, I always call it like a scavenger hunt or the breadcrumbs, right? Like picking up the breadcrumbs and how it's unfold, how it meaning our passageway through this portal into like the clicking in into that high our highest timeline, how it's unfolding is I laughed because you said signs of I have no idea where it's leading. All of us are like we have no like no one knows where we're going at this point. We all had a plan, I think, for the most part. We're like this is where we're going, and now we're all just like I don't know where we going. Like we are we ascending still? Are we still on Earth? Like are we flying to different planets? Like we don't know what's going on. So that's why like being in the sacredness of every day, like who knows where we're going to be or where we even are in space and time, but where I am in space and time right now, I'm giggling, I'm laughing, I'm okay with being messy. That's a beautiful piece. And I never thought I would get there. I never thought I'd get to a point where I'd go live and have my house be a mess. Like everything was, had to be cleaned up. So we are all learning on this journey, like this new we're following the signs of like, ooh, I like this now. And you go in some direction and you learn something new, or you read about something, or you try something else, and you're like, oh, I've never tried that before. What? How did I not try that? I kind of want to go in that direction, and how it comes in, like just Giselle, what you were saying, how things are introduced. My beautiful friend Christine was telling us how she got here like she was so nervous for weeks. She was so nervous about this trip from Ukraine to here and all the different there's no straight route. That's why it took us so long to figure it out with dogs. So she had a really and she had figured out that it took a lot of legs to get here, and she was scared. It was her first international trip. But she's like, when she got here, she said, Bennett, I don't know what happened, but she met this guy and he like immediately knew where to take her and took her. And it was like, you need a bus ticket here. I'll just get it for you. Bought her a bus ticket. And then, oh, you need a hostel for the night because she had to spend the night in Budapest. So he's like, no, no, no. Like, then she went to someone else and they put her up for the night and gave her food and like snacks. Like she was taken care of. And she got here and she's like, I don't even know what just happened. Like everybody was just so nice. And then she was on the bus, and the bus left her in the bathroom at a gas station. And she came out, she's 19, y'all, in the middle of nowhere. She didn't know where she is. Her backpack was still on the bus, and the bus had taken off. She could see it driving. But she made friends with someone, two people on that bus who told the bus driver, like, hey, we left somebody. We have to go back. And she saw the bus do a U-turn and came back and got her, you know? And the most beautiful thing, like, she doesn't speak our language yet, but she was noticing these coincidences. And she was like, I just got help. Like, whenever I needed help, it just showed up. And I was like, that's how it works. That's how it works. So we are all noticing this and we are aware of it. So when we see it, we are tickled pink. When we find that rock that has that perfect message, or someone says that thing that says the perfect message, we're like, oh my God, it's working. This is so cool. But for those who are now just coming into this, we're watching, we get to watch now, wake up and experience this kind of stuff for the first time. And we get to say, that's how it is. Like, well, expect that. Expect that every time. And she's like, I just am lucky. And I was like, just believe that the rest of your life and you'll be fine because you are lucky. We are lucky. We are now in that process. We are in the beautiful space for us to now look for how lucky we are and look at it in the small things. That was the whole purpose of the open the storehouse hashtag, is for us to start tuning in to all the synchronicities. And I know we can't take pictures of all the things because I have many more that I show on Instagram where I'm like, oh, this is an open storehouse moment, but I can't take a picture of it necessarily. But when you can, share it, because that's how we create a new algorithm. But we're already playing with that algorithm because I see synchronicities showing up. My friend Christine does. Gisela does. I know we all have talked about it. So magic is happening. It is happening. Like everything right now is in our projection of what magic is in this 5D, we are all projecting it out and seeing it. And we're seeing it showing up in our physical world. And that's the point of these 90 days, to see how much we can see in our physical reality from what we have known and we have held in consciousness for a very long time. This is our time to see it. So let's look for it. Let's look for the sacred and share it, and at least just beam it out in that moment and be like, that feels too good. I don't want to pick up my phone. I'm not doing anything but just sharing this. That is all that we are being required to do right now. Bask in the joy of this sacred journey. Taking a deep breath in, just anchoring in these beautiful energies, coming into this beautiful moment together as a community, and allowing ourselves to tune in, turn on all aspects of sacredness, and allow us to see that in our physical reality, wherever we are, whatever we experience with them, with whomever we are with. We see the sacred in all directions, and we acknowledge it, because the more we acknowledge it out loud and say, I acknowledge you, this sacred moment, and I give thanks. That's all that needs to be done to create an even bigger ripple in time, a wrinkle in time that catapults you through space and time even closer, and pretty much into your soul timeline. Sweet soul, you are so, so close. You are there to your soul timeline. Trust this process. Follow the synchronicities. Look for the breadcrumbs. Bask in the sacred. Giggle, laugh, expose yourself as being weird. Because when people ask, like, why are you laughing so hard? You could just say, because I created magic, and you can too. And I know this to be true for each and every one of us. We carry that magic and we spread it wherever we go through our consciousness. I release this beautiful sacred moment into the realms of space and time to catapult us, quantum leap us even closer as a community to our sacred space in time, in this now moment. And here we are. Thank you, sweet souls. I release this. I let this go. I let the magic be. So it is. Abracadabra. And so it is. Thank you. Yes, Carol, I agree. She is a brave one. I told her that too. And I'm going to tell her my friend Carol said so too. All right, y'all. So privileged to be here. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for being here with me. I will see you tomorrow. And I don't know what the message is going to be tomorrow, but we will find out together. Have a good one. Mwah. Bye.